Mac and Mac guys are joined, as we are almost every Wednesday, by the power from the shore. That would be Mike Gill, who's going alma mater on us today. How many of those you got? West Virginia T-shirts, sweaters, hoodies, ties?
Too many. My girlfriend wants to kill me. I got a whole drawer dedicated to just West Virginia.
I'm with you. Hey, Mike, I'm more impressed you showed your setup. You put that on X about to join the show. You got the ring lights. You got the nice setup. That camera, man, that looks like 22nd century camera. I mean, looks like an alien out there. That's impressive.
And of course, it froze up as soon as you said.
Well, last week, Jody told me I looked dark, so I went upstairs. My girlfriend has this ring light that she uses for her stuff, so I grabbed it and I said I don't want to look dark again. So I got that's just a light. The camera's just my laptop.
Yeah. Now, what is that? What is that? Oh, that's the microphone.
That's my microphone.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a snowball.
Yeah.
Now wait a minute. Time out. Homestead. Her stuff. Are you talking about putting on makeup? Does she do online stuff as well? What are you talking about? The girlfriend stuff?
No, she has a little craft business where she makes like beach decor for people's beach houses down the shore. And I guess she needs the extra light upstairs when she's doing like the epoxy and stuff.
Oh, okay. So my crafts with Mike Gill is what we're doing today.
We're working on it. Yeah, I don't want to keep working, so she keeps making this stuff. I can retire.
All right, Jason Kelce, Hall of Famer, lock or no?
I guess so. I mean, obviously, he said it himself. The first from 11 to 16, no. 17 to 24, yes. Is that a long enough period of time? 17 to 24, is that a long enough resume to say first ballot, no doubt a ballot Hall of Famer? Now, I heard you guys talking about, his popularity. If he's in the media, I think that will certainly keep him at people's top of mind. Remember, 5 years from now, if you're a guy who was just good from 2017 to 2024, and then 5 years go by, people might forget about you. But I don't know that they're going to forget him if he's doing the media. For me, though,
especially when he's already jumping through flaming tables, that as well.
My question for his future is, what is the media job? I keep hearing that he's a natural, and I don't see Jason Kelce on Sunday NFL Countdown breaking down the center, pulling. Like, he's a fun guy. I see him maybe touring different NFL tailgate parties, but does he want to put a suit on every Sunday and break down plays? I don't see him being a game analyst. Like, he's not going to be a Tony Romo or a Chris Collingsworth. That's not what I see.
Why not? I could see him do that. You don't think he'd be a good game analyst? The understanding he has of the game?
I don't say he wouldn't. I'm just saying I don't see that that's what he would want to do. Like, he's a fun guy. He takes his shirt off. He's chugging beers, and now he's stuffed in a booth with a suit on, talking 14-second spurts of what just happened on a play. I just don't see that being his personality. I keep hearing all the media stuff, and I don't doubt it. I just say, can I see him stuffed on a set with Bill Cowher and Nate Burleson on a Sunday? I don't know.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea, Mike. You might want to put the resume in to be a producer. Go around the different tailgates with Jason Kelce.
Yeah. Well, first of all, nobody's ever done the way Mike just described it. And I'll harken back to, they tried to find a role for a guy years ago, and it just, and they stuck with it for years. Tony Saragusa down on the field was an abject failure.
Yeah,
that was awful. And man, did they try over and over. They kept just coming back with him and back with him. And I felt bad for, he was on Moose Johnston's broadcast squad, that Moose had to try and incorporate him into, just terrible. Good luck reinventing the wheel. I'm telling you, I think he's going to be a game analyst.
Yeah, I agree. Tony Saragusa, and they kept it. And you know who else they did that with? Booger. With the
Booger, the Booger Mobile.
Yeah,
how big a failure was that?
Yeah.
You try and get too cute, Mike, you end up ruining somebody's
Well,
career.
that's what I'm saying. Like, can you do where he, travels with Kelce? Or the next thing would be when his brother retires, that they do an Amazon Prime cast, and it's him and his brother doing the Manning thing. I could see that where they're in a bar or they're in the living room, and him and his brother are yucking it up with Todd Harriman's and Brent Selleck and whoever else owned that failed bar, and they're all just sitting there and shooting a breeze on a Thursday night football game. That I can see, because I think what makes Jason is his personality. Him being in a booth for 8-second quips of, a pitch to the left. All right. Am I getting my bang for my buck? If I'm, saying I got this high profile guy, I don't see him being a part of a studio show. I could see doing the tailgate tour. Hey, Jason's in Buffalo this week. And, he gets a 3 to 5 minute, produced segment where he's doing shots and jumping off of tables. Now, how long is that sustainable for? I don't know. Is that what he wanted to be known for? Or does he want to, like, for me, the Thursday night Amazon is the place, because you go Thursday night, you're home on the weekend. You don't have to worry about being away from your family on the weekends. And you do the thing quickly, and you're done. So Amazon,
yeah, and he already has the reputation. He already has the relationship. He got the tryout with Amazon during the bye week.
Well, I don't know. Did you see
documentary?
Did you see the odds were sent out yesterday of where he's going to go next?
Yes,
and all the different.
I have them right here for you and John.
Yeah, Amazon was number 1,
2.5 plus 250. YouTube plus 500. ABC, I think he could do Disney. 600. Disney itself 800. Fubo TV at that. Sling TV. You're banking on 14-1 for Sling TV. Where's your money going, Mike Gill?
I think Amazon Prime is the spot. Doing something with that
taking
Thursday
the chalk.
night game.
All right, good on you.
Yeah, Thursday night game. They got Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's a bit of a goofball. That set's a little lighter, a little less stuffy than the Fox and CBS one.
Yeah, they already got Whitworth though as the offensive lineman, wearing the hoodie with the suits.
Right, but I don't think Kelce's so much on the set. Maybe he's in the crowd, or he's in the parking lot. He's at the tailgate party. And he's, hey, we're going to.
By the way, I'm starting to get with the fans. I'm like, let's talk about football. Let's talk about Jason Kelce and replacing Jason Kelce. But before we do that, Mike, I need to settle the argument. And I'm surprised this is an argument. Well, not that we're arguing. We weren't arguing about it, but Jody, and I was surprised when Jody said it yesterday. He's like, he's got Jason ahead of Travis. I'm sorry, Travis is ahead of Jason. Settle that argument. Better career.
No, here's the way. When I said it, let me just since John brought it up, let me set the parameters. What I said yesterday was, I think Jason Kelce will get into the Hall of Fame quicker than Travis Kelce will get into the Hall of Fame,
possible.
And not because he's 2 years ahead of him, but I mean, as per when they become available, what's the first year they get in? That's what I would use to judge it. You need something to judge it by.
Yeah, I'm still in my camp. I'm like, Travis, no brainer, first ballot. Jason, I think is going to have to wait.
I would have to agree that Travis is going to get in, I would say, almost immediately. I looked at it yesterday, actually. He's 34 years old, because I'm wondering when they could pair up to do something. How much longer is Travis going to play? There has been a little bit of murmurs. I would imagine he plays at least 1, maybe 2 more years. But I would think if he retired today, he's already a first ballot. I mean, he's probably, man, if you're looking at it, it was funny. When I was at the Super Bowl, we were talking to Kellen Winslow, and I said, I'm sitting here, and I said, this guy at one point is the greatest tight end that ever played the game. And I said, at one point, because I turned around, and behind me was Rob Gronkowski. And I said, and then this guy came in, and I said, Tony Gonzalez, Kelce, not too many others are in that conversation, but I think Kelce's name firmly is in.
By the way, because I was just looking it up, the 2010 All-Decade team, Jason's not on it. He wasn't first or second team, not even second team. So there were 4 centers ahead of Jason at that point. Now, as you mentioned, Mike, from his rookie year to 2016, not a Hall of Famer, 2017 forward Hall of Famer. So, he's in that category. Didn't do it long enough in the 2010s, didn't play long enough in the 2020s. But Travis was on the all-decade team, and he was first team all-decade. It was Gronk and Travis, and it was Tony Gonzalez and Antonio Gates on the second team. Travis was in the first team in the 2010s.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, like, I'm in the camp of, like, Kurt Warner had too many Met years for me. I know he had like 3.
Yeah, I was with you. I don't think Kurt, great guy, Kurt Warner. I don't think.
Oh yeah, this isn't like.
I don't think.
And I get his story's great, but Kurt's in the media, and he had these like this Disney movie written about him. I think that helped. Terrell Davis is another guy I don't think played enough years, but the 5 years that he played were definitively Hall of Fame years. Jason Kelce played 13 years, 6 of which were probably not definitively not Hall of Fame. He wasn't even a Pro Bowl level player. He was a very good player. It was the kind of thing of, hey, you got a 6th-round pick who turned into a starter. That's a win. It went from that to now we're talking about possibly the best center of all time. I think it's a little, not recency bias, but home bias. That doesn't mean that he didn't have a tremendous career and should be discussed for the Hall of Fame. In fact, I had Sal Powell on yesterday, and he said they are going to strongly push to have Jason, him and Paul Domowitch, who represent the Philly area, to have him, be a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying he's not. Those 7 years matter, but he did have 6 years where you were saying that's not a Hall of Fame player. So is that a Hall of Famer? I don't know.
And that's the one other thing that I factored into I think Jason might be able to get in quicker than Travis thing. He's got Gronk in front of him. What center is in front of Jason right now? Who's the center they're going to say when they're on the ballot at the same time go, which one are we going to take? I don't know that there's anybody even in that conversation. I think Gronk is got a better resume for Hall of Fame than Kelce does. And again, remember, Kelce can still add to it. He's not retired yet. Travis, that is. But those two could
Gronk,
be on the ballot.
Well, the thing that's going to help Gronk, if it were the same year type of thing, I would agree with you. But Gronk's going to be already safely in when Travis comes up.
Gronk will be off the ballot because he'll be in.
Yeah.
He's been gone. This will be 2 years now that he's out of the game. So Kelce won't have to contend with Gronk at the same time. Neither will Kelce, but who else will they have to? That's become the problem for a lot of these guys. Although this year's class, I wouldn't say.
But that's what I mean. If I say the name again, it's very. I think it's very Philadelphia based. And by the way, I want to say this again because I'll get murdered. I believe Jason Kelce's going to the Hall of Fame. What we started this is I don't think he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I've talked to Jody and I have talked to enough voters over the years. It's very difficult. I don't think he's going to be first ballot. A guy like I brought up, Marquise Pouncey, like he means nothing in Philadelphia. Nothing. He was a hell of a player. And to those other guys, those other voters, they're going to look at Marquise Pouncey and say, is this a Hall of Fame center? And they're going to have serious discussions over it at some point. It's different. It's here. Jason Kelce's massive, especially right now. But, other voters, they don't have that local bias that every city has. It's not just Philadelphia. What is that quote? Everybody's got a linebacker when it comes to the Hall of Fame. Who said that to us, Jody? Everybody's got a linebacker that they think should be in the Hall of Fame. Here it's Seth Joyner. One of the Hall of Fame voters said that. And he was right. Tommy Noble in Atlanta.
Might have been Clark Judge, who
might have been Clark. Yeah.
But here's the other thing that the one thing, if I were in the Hall of Fame committee, and I think they do an outstanding job in general. I can individual votes, things I disagree with, but just in general, I think they do an outstanding job. And listen to Clark and Damo and Gary Myers and guys who I've had on as a guest, and they do bring this up. The all-decade team, that can be skewed. If you just happen to start in 01 and you get your game together by 02 and you start on a Hall of Fame track, you got 8 years. But a guy who starts in 04 and it takes him 2 years together and gets to Hall of Fame in 06. Well, now you only have X amount of years, but then you're going to drag over into the next decade. And you could have 10 great years. Yeah, but you only had 4 in one and 4 in the other. And I think that the amount of emphasis they put on all decade teams can be misleading. And I think Jason Kelce falls into that category.
I personally agree with you, but I'm also realistic, and you can look at the history of the all deck. They value those things. So
I
when
know
you're
they
in
do,
there,
and I'm saying I
yeah,
disagree with that. I
yeah,
think that you need to look at a guy's career, whether it started in 05 and ended in 12. You shouldn't be held more accountable because yours have to overlap over 2 decades. You should not have to pay a price and a penalty for that. That's, to my estimation, that's just wrong.
Right, because Kelce, well, you could say he played in the decade, but the first half of it, he wasn't an all-decade level player. And
yeah.
from 17, 18, 19, he was an all-decade level player. But you're talking about if his career started in 17 and he didn't play 16 to 11, and they started thinking about him for all-decade, 17, 18, 19, and then that. So in other words, you had a player who was probably better than you in that part of the decade, but he didn't play enough, so therefore he wasn't named to the all-decade team, and therefore he's not getting the adulation that he should get for being an all-decade player.
Right. You can comp any 2 players and you put their careers side by side and you just wipe out the year on the calendar it happened to happen. Well, he had these 8 years, he had these 7 years, and you compare it to each other. Sometimes when voting for an all-decade team, you got to stay within the decade. I understand the definition and the concept. That's fine. But then when you use that to determine who had better careers, I think it can be very misleading.
Yeah. Well, I agree. Some guys get lost in it. As you mentioned, the layered part of it, you don't play enough in 1 decade, you lap the 2 decades. I agree. But the guys who are on it, you're usually not arguing with those guys because those guys are, those guys were really good. So yeah, guys can get lost, but I don't think it takes away from the guys who are on it. Because those guys, and that's why you see, if you go back to the 1970s all day, so many of them are in the Hall of Fame because they earned it. And they did earn it. Do some people get lost in the shuffle? Yeah, they certainly do. But let's talk about it. I tried to move it forward a little bit yesterday by talking about the cap ramifications of Jason Kelce's retirement. So the Eagles guys have $25.1 million to deal with still on the books for Jason Kelce. That means they're going to file the retirement papers June 1st. To split it over 2 seasons, it's going to be $8.6 million this year, $16.4 million in 2025. Kelce's scheduled cap number this season is $10.178 million. I know this is getting in the weeds, but for the people, the Eagles will gain $1.5 million of cap space, but they're not going to get that until June 2nd. So it's not going to mean all that much. And then the full bill of $16.4 million due in 2025. No more bookkeeping tricks. No more bookkeeping tricks. You got to eat that. That's going to be against the cap. So those are the financial implications. The football implications are even bigger, and that's Cam Jurgens moving to center. And then who plays right guard? Do you trust Jeff Stoutland with Tyler Steen, Mike Gill, or do you go out and get a free agent? Do you bring back Sue Opeta and say, this is our safety net? How does Mike Gill handle that?
Well, yeah, I mean, Jurgens obviously moves over and plays the center spot, and now you have a void at right guard. They drafted Steen. Tyler Steen, a 3rd-round pick. Does he have, I don't know, you've been around them way more than I can say I've been. Jason Kelce told a great story. He had a horrible 2016. One guy believed in him. Does he have the personality, Steen, to say, I need someone to believe in me because I am good enough? Does he work at it? Obviously, they liked him to draft him in the 3rd round. So you would hope that he would be the successor in that spot. There's a couple of guys in free agency, but we just talked about, they're going to have some money to spend, but do they want to spend it at a position that they generally draft well at? So they could probably, I would imagine Steen would get the crack. You have, you mentioned the possibility of Opeta. He'd probably get cheap. Driscoll, is he still hanging around? Jack Driscoll?
Yeah, he'll be a free agent, but yeah, they could bring him back. They need backups too. I mean, they need backups.
Look, I think one of the big things with this offensive line through last year, now they got through the year without a lot of injury issues on that line, was you didn't have the depth on that offensive line that you had the year before. Luckily, you didn't have the injury problems either. So knowing that they draft well at that spot, I wouldn't think free agency would be a way that they would go. Although they've done it in the past. They have signed Brandon Brooks. They've done some money on the line. But I think in-house will be the way they'll try to replace the right guard spot. And, of course, they will draft, some depth in that spot. Depth and / competition. Remember, they have 2 second-round picks, a third, and I don't know what they have 5 fifth-round picks. So
they got 8 total, Mike, which is one more than you're supposed to have because it's a 7-round draft. But you're right.
They have no 7th. They don't have a 7th. 6 and what they have 4 fifths and a 6th, no 7th.
Right. Which John always tells me the Eagles don't value day 3 picks all that much. That they won't give up a day 2 pick.
No, that's me. That's me.
Right. That's you evaluating the Eagles. That's what I said. So how much stock can you put in these 5th-round picks? If you're going to put this major value on a day 2 pick, understandable, but a much lesser value on a day 3 pick, how do you go, yeah, but we got all these 5th-round picks. We'll just get plug and play guys. We'll be able to step in and either play, or if there's an injury, they can go in and play. Really? Then why do you not compare them to 2nd-round picks when you talk about trade value?
Well, I'm imagining Monday and Tuesday, and now the first 48 minutes of today, we spoke about a 6th-round pick. So I think the Eagles feel that they can get a player.
That's the outlier.
Jody, do they not have a left tackle that was drafted in the 7th round? This is a team that has found draft choices in the later rounds. I mean, they've gotten guys that have played all over the place. Yes, Lane Johnson's a 1st-round pick. Landon Dickerson's a 2nd-round pick. But generally, this team has done a pretty good job finding the Todd Harrimans of the world. We talked about Kelce, Mailata. Big V was a 4th-round pick a couple of years ago. He might laugh, but he got a big contract to play in this league in Detroit and was the starting left tackle for a Super Bowl team. They played players like Driscoll. This is a team that I think believes in Jeff Stoutland, in that we're not going to have to spend a pick in the 2nd round. Now, I wouldn't be shocked if they do, because generally they will go offense or defensive line. But usually we're talking about 1st round, where they want the highest, because they have gone Dillard, Lane Johnson we talked about. So they have taken guys high. But I think they also believe that at right guard, we can find a guy in the 5th round. We took a guy in the 3rd round last year. So I'm not saying plug and play, but just somebody that can add depth or competition to that spot this year. Because, look, it sounds like we're all just writing Tyler Steen off. I don't know what they think about Tyler Steen. He didn't play all that much last year.
No, but if we were doing one of those emails, you were talking about Jason Kelce, Amazon being the leader in the clubhouse. I would say if you're doing odds for starting right guard right now, I would say Tyler Steen's the leader in the clubhouse. Now, I think the Eagles should learn from last season when they put all their eggs in the Nakobe Dean basket. It's great to have that mentality, and I get why you have it, but you need to have that better contingency plan. If it doesn't work, who's next? And maybe it's as simple as Sua. Maybe it's as simple as bringing him back. But, it's worth discussing. Should they go out and get, I've argued John Runyon Jr. Eagles fans would love it to get.
There's
that
a lot of
back.
good, interesting players at that position in free agency. It's just, what are they, where they want to focus on spending this lump sum of money. Then all of a sudden they got $40+ million.
Well, better be on defense.
And
better be on defense.
That's the thought is. They want to go try to fix that defensive side of the ball. Do we think we can get by with what we have on offense because we like our skilled players? And look, most teams don't have 5 guys on the offensive line that they deem competent. Most offensive lines in this league are terrible. And it's like, as Eagles fans, we get so spoiled. It's almost like they have to have 5 Pro Bowl level players on the line.
Oh, yeah.
Most teams are hoping to get 1 Pro Bowl level player.
So hold on, let me get this straight. They're gonna put their resources dedicated to narrow focus on improving the defense from last year, which makes a ton of football sense. So the first thing we do is trade our best defensive player. How the hell does that work?
Well, if you come to a time where he wants more money and you don't want to pay that money, now you have a crossroad. The rubber meets the road somewhere there. If he's saying, I deserve more, and you're saying you probably do, but we're not the team to give it to you, we'll start to, I would imagine, we'll start to hear this week coming up what offers are out there for him, right?
Yeah.
This is when it will start ramping up. I think I think Adam Schefter said this morning, what was it, a second round pick or something like that, or somewhere between a 3rd and a 5th?
Yeah, second. Yeah, I would think it would start with the second round. If
he estimated the Eagles will be looking a 2nd rounder in return, or possibly a package with a 3rd and a 5th for Reddick.
Yeah, I would think they'd want a second.
No.
I would be hopeful of getting a 2nd and a day 3 pick, but I don't know if they can get that. But
so if you're getting a 2nd, that gives you 3 picks in the top. You would get 3 second rounders, so 4 picks in the top 60 if you traded him for a 2nd round pick in this draft. And if you got a 3rd and a 5th, you would be adding what, a fifth round pick, and then a 2nd, 3rd round pick for Hassan Reddick. How's everybody feel about that?
Sound like a good deal to you? Not to me. You subtract.
Well, you're also subtracting. You're not paying a guy $25 million plus, maybe. That factors into it as well, and that's where the Eagles are. That's
I will say, guys, I will say the free agent market certainly has added some intriguing names to it in the last 48 hours.
Yeah, but I'm thankful that now finally the franchise tag deadline passed yesterday, so we can stop talking about Josh Allen, Brian Burns, Antoine Winfield. I told you, stop talking about Antoine Winfield. It's not realistic. So I'm glad that part of it's over, so we don't have to have those discussions anymore.
No, but you're going to get the Jamal Adams, the Diggs, the Kimmy. You're going to get and look. Jamal Adams profiles as a Roseman guy, right? He's been hurt a lot. He was a 1st round pick. He's been injured.
He can't cover us, man.
Right. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Not in Vic Fangio's defense.
Jamal
Adams is a player, but not
Jamal Adams would be a great 1980 safety. I mean, a great one, maybe a Hall of Fame one. In today's world, he's useless. He's useless.
I'm just talking about the injury issues he had, the high-profile player. You bring him in on the 1-year deal, everybody gets excited, and you're like, this guy can't play. But Diggs is another guy who's been hurt a lot as well.
He's a big Slay guy, too. They're best friends.
There you go.
So that'll come into play. Now, a name, our buddy, I have to bring this up. Last one for you from me, Mike. At Mike Gill Show, make sure you follow Mike on X. Listen to him, 97.3 The Sports Bash, every afternoon, 2 to 6. Our buddy Pat Leonard in New York, the New York Daily News.
I saw this.
Saquon Barkley, we know, filled up. Now, Pat did a story, and he came up with 6 suitors, potential suitors, who have the resources, 1, need, 2, and interest, 3, to possibly sign Saquon Barkley. The Eagles are one of those 6 teams. They certainly have the resources. They certainly have the need.
Yeah.
If they don't bring back DeAndre Swift, do they really have the interest? People keep talking about Saquon Barkley.
You mentioned it, and anytime one of the national guys says something like Adam Schefter, who said, let me float this out there. How would Saquon look in Dallas? How would Saquon look in Philadelphia? I can see an NFC East team exploring that to see if they can make something happen with Saquon. So, and then you're right. Pat Leonard, who I saw the article yesterday or the day before in the Post or the Daily News, Saquon Barkley's name yet. All of a sudden, I can't imagine a world where they're going to spend that money on a running back. Whether they can fit him in financially or not. We talked about it last week. If DeAndre Swift wanted to come back and the Eagles said, name me your best price, and he said 3.5, I'll come back. I'm not even sure they jump at that. Like, they might say 3.5 is too much for that position. Thank you, DeAndre. So I can't imagine them going to the number that Saquon Barkley thinks he should get. And that's what I've been saying. Monday, I can't wait to see what this running back market looks like. I am fascinated by this because these are legitimately really good players. I mean, Derrick Henry, I know some people might perceive that he might be on the downswing, but man, his play didn't display that, last year. He still looks like a guy who can. Now, those guys drop off real quick. Josh Jacobs, he's a very good player. Saquon, very good player. What is going to happen with these guys?
Right. That's the one thing the Pat Leonards of the world are leaving out. And the desire to spend the money for him.
Yes.
Having the availability of it is nice.
Right.
Making the dedicated, I go back to Hassan Reddick. I think the Eagles like Hassan Reddick. I think the Eagles want to keep Hassan Reddick. I can't see why the new defense coordinator wouldn't want Hassan Reddick. But if he's $25 million per year and somebody else sets that market, the Eagles might just back off.
Yep.
I'd pay him the 25. That's me. But if we're tracking the Eagles and their track record of not setting the market and going to the highest dollar value of anybody in a position, I don't think they're going to do it. And I think they'll have a hard time replacing what Hassan Reddick has given them the last 2 years. Good luck with that.
I agree. I agree with everything you said. I think they like Hassan. I think they like to bring him back. I don't think they want to pay that money and can see an out. And it's like, hey, we didn't want to pay that money on a guy who's hitting this age, and I'm not going to say that publicly. I'm sure, hey, he's 30 years old, and we're concerned. I don't think that's the way they would spin it, but I think that's probably the way that they're thinking about it, no question.
Yeah.
Look, they watched a team last year, all of a sudden on the defensive side of the ball, look very slow and old right before your very eyes.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yep. Speed. They need more speed on defense.
They were slow, but ability to tackle might be a good trait you'd look for in replacement guys this year. That'd be something I'd try and break down on tape and find.
Here, let me ask you guys this question. Wednesday, when I am back, will the Eagles fans have been excited about the first tampering days?
In a word, nope.
Ooh.
I think they might make one somewhat splashy move on defense. They need so much.
What position would that be, John McMullen?
Most likely corner.
They have 2 seconds. Do they pony up one for Snead?
No. Here's the thing with Snead. I mean, why bring him in? If you're going to play the scheme you're going to play, why are you bringing a fresh corner and paying him $19 million? Right. And I said this to Jody, when you bring somebody in with that salary, and you're going to have to give up significant compensation to get him in a tag and trade, the expectations are he's going to be what he was in Kansas City. Well, you're not going to play him like Steve Spagnuolo played him, so he's going to end up being like Nnamdi Asomugha. I think the Eagles are too smart now to make that kind of mistake. They know.
So if we're Wednesday and it's the first official, they'll already have some reports of who's going where. You have a position that they're targeting as their big splash.
Yeah, I think it's going to be defense, and I think it's going to be cornerback. But and when I said somewhat splashy, because I don't think it's going to be, again. Well, Jalen Johnson got tagged, so we don't have to worry about that nonsense anymore. L'Jarius Sneed, I don't think they're interested in. But there's somebody, whether it's the second level type signing, I think that might be, and that's why I say somewhat splashy. Not top of the market, but somewhat splashy.
Interesting names, though. Definitely.
Yeah, I think Eagle Nation will yawn if the Eagles are linked to a middle of the road cornerback. or safety. I don't think they'll be like Howie season, pumping their fist because Howie is somehow outsmarted everyone in the National Football League. I just don't see it.
What about if
Well, I will say
CJ
this.
comes back? What
I
about if
think
CJ comes back?
Who?
CJ Gardner Johnson. What if they, and you know, safety, slot corner, whatever, defensive back. He's not going to make a lot of money coming off last season. He didn't get a lot of money when he was playing well. Now he's coming off an injury plagued season. That would excite Eagles fans.
I think it would be
results.
It would excite people, but not at the level that I'm kind of insinuating, I think.
Right. And I think part of bringing Johnson back be mixed results. I think there are some people that were absolutely positively ready to move on from CJ Gardner Johnson. Now, they didn't do a good job replacing him, which will stem that a little bit, that we're like, good riddance to bad rubbish. CJ's a pain in the rear end. He's a tough guy to coach. So that might mitigate that some. But I think there'll be people who say, no, we don't want to revisit that. He wasn't a good fit in this locker room.
What about, I know we got to go, Mike. What about linebacker? If they go linebacker, which they never do, and it's not going to be Patrick Queen, somebody's going to demand a lot of money. But if you go to get the kid from Tennessee, they hired the linebackers coach from Tennessee. So there's some thought process. Maybe they could go in that direction. Or Josie Jewell, who has a history with. What about Andrew Van Ginkel? How about that? Is that somewhat flashy?
I'd give that excitement level enough. I'd say that's pretty good excitement. But right off the bat, you don't think there are going to be other teams that are out there pursuing them? Do you think the Eagles are going to make Andrew Van Ginkel their big off-season splash?
The interesting part about this is Van Ginkel, I think, is a target only if you don't bring back Reddick, right?
Yeah, probably. Aziz Al-Shair, I couldn't remember his name. He's a pretty good linebacker. I don't know if people know.
Nice player, but Mike's right. You think they're going to have Hassan Reddick traded to another team before free agency starts? I don't.
It's possible, man. Stuff happens quickly because especially when you budget big money you got to do that early. It's not going to like you're going to have 25 million laying around late in the process. So if somebody's going to make a move for Hassan Reddick, they're going to do it pretty early.
Jordan Brooks would be another guy that might be a fit from Seattle. Wouldn't be all that exciting to people, but just another kind of like mid-level linebacker that they can probably get at a cheap price.
What about, I'll give you a guy because Eagles fans think this guy's great, even though he's played poorly year after year after year. But he was a former top 5 pick. He played great in the playoffs one year. Devin White. And you could probably get him for 1 year, maybe $7-8 million. Would that move the needle?
Yeah,
I think people would though be like, hey, they finally went out and got a linebacker. But you're right, John. It's a linebacker who is notorious, if you talk to Tampa people, for just constantly being out of place and just it was almost too athletic for his own good.
By the way, if you see Devin White, be fearful, Eagles fans. If you see the Eagles sign Devin White, be fearful because he has not played well.
No. He's the Eli Manning of linebackers. Had that one great run during the Super Bowl, helped win a championship. But you look at the rest of the area and go, whoa, what's special about this? Absolutely nothing. Mikey Gill, thank you very much. Go give your girlfriend back her lights so she can do whatever arts and crafts she needs to get done. We appreciate your borrowing it for the half an hour with us here today.
And I like the snowball microphone. I like it. Look at that thing. Look at that. Looks like an alien.
Too cool for school, Mr. West Virginia.
Kind of old, actually. I got it a couple of years ago.
Mike Gill, thank you very much. We'll get Mike back next Wednesday. Mac guys, McMullen and McDonald. We'll keep the energy up. Hunter Brody is going to join us coming up in just about 15 minutes from now. So keep it here. Oh, and let me tell you guys about a great opportunity. Here's a chance to save some big bucks, guys. Birds fans, how would you like to save 40% on your car insurance right now from one of JAKIB Sports' great partners? Here's how you do it. call one of the two managing general partners, Jim or Fran, and tell them you're a friend of both JAKIB Sports and Birds 365.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Delval Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!